Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Life After the D. I am Coach April Elle, and I am a trained life coach. I help women restart their lives post-divorce. We all have a story, right? And this show was created to show women that your story doesn't end after divorce. So today I have the incredible, phenomenal, and
Aw.
gorgeous Shelita Gray here with us today. Welcome to the show, Shelita.
Thank you, Coach April. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, Shelita, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, your family dynamic, and just tell us about you.
Awesome. Well, my name is Shelita Gray, as you just introduced me. Thank you so much for inviting me to this show. This is just amazing. I love the concept of everything. So thank you for having me. And just to introduce myself, I have been doing life coaching or life coaching with fitness
Mhm.
for almost now, it's going on 7 years. So I've been helping people lose weight, feel good, feel comfortable in their skin, becoming a better version of themselves. The family dynamics is that I am, of course, a single mother of one. I have a beautiful daughter. She's 11 years
Yes,
old,
so pretty,
and
so
she is,
pretty.
thank you. She is rambunctious and loves to have fun. She loves to sing. She loves to do a lot of things. So she keeps me on the go. So I've been handling and actually doing my business for 2 years. I left HR and actually started coaching full time a couple of years ago. And so that's what Phoenix Fitness International. We call ourselves the PFI Tribe. I love the business. Thank you. And April knows I love what I do, passionate about it. We serve all over, and it's great because being a coach with Phoenix Fitness International, I get to touch lives everywhere. We have clients, or we call Phoenixes, all over Canada, Spain. We had some in Bahamas, Nigeria. I just get to help everybody from different parts of the country. Also able to see some of them have some really great results, and they're actually able to hit some of their goals. So losing 6 to 70 pounds is just awesome to see those people doing that. We have a live chef that comes in and talks a little bit about the foods and how to prepare them and how to make them good. We eat good food, but we also
Yes.
portion our foods, and so that it's really engaging. Great mentors, great folks that are a part of the team, and it's been a blessing. So that's just a little bit about myself in a nutshell.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I have been a part of PFI, and
Yes.
I have done great work, and I believe in what you do. I 100% support PFI. It
Yes, you
does work. It does
do.
work. So you guys definitely go over to Phoenix Fitness International on Facebook, on
Yes.
the website. What's the website?
The website is www.phoenixfitnessintl.com.
Do it. You will
Yes.
not, you will not, it's worth it. Just trust me.
Thank you.
So, Shalita, we're just going to kind of just jump right in. And I do have my questions right here in front of me. So if you see me look down, I am listening.
No worries. No worries.
So, so this show again is about women sharing their stories so that the ones behind us can relate, and know that there's life. Be encouraged and know that there's life after divorce. So share with us a little bit of your story.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to try to do as much as I can. I don't want to be too lengthy or
Mm-hmm.
long-winded, but I will tell you that my background has always been, my father was a preacher, so I would be considered a PK.
Okay.
So he was a pastor. My mother was the pastor's wife, and you have a typical PK. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because you think about PK, typical PK daughters, you're thinking, oh, she was ratchet, she was out there, she was wild now. And that wasn't me. I was not that way. I truly believed in church. I believed in God. I was very much involved in church youth ministry, involved with of course, the musical ministry, and also believed in marriage and what it stood for, and So when I actually got married, I believe that marriage was for a lifetime commitment. You know, you're in there for the long haul. You know, no matter what's going on, you need to work this out. I have grandparents that have been married for 50-ish years. My parents were married for 20 years at the time when I got married. They got divorced. But typically, it really wasn't that way for church members and for those who are in the, you know, in the Word. The belief is that you need to stay married and you need to work this out. And so I got married young. I got married when I was 21 years old, very green. Didn't know too much anything, just knew what the word said, you know, honor your husband, be a submissive wife. And so I was doing that. So a few years down the road, of course it's a little bit trying because, you know, you're new at this, you've never done it, you're leaving your mother's house going straight into you know, a marriage with another person. So a few years down the road, I got pregnant with my baby girl. Things started changing a lot. Of course, my body was changing. I was getting stretched out. You know, I was experiencing a lot of that. And my husband at the time wasn't used to the changes that were happening with my body as well. So there was a lot of, you know, a lot of tear down. You know, he would tear me down a lot about my weight. Even while I was pregnant, you know, about my weight, wasn't really trying to, you know, entertain being physical, holding hands, none of that. So it was a rough pregnancy for me. I experienced a lot of depression during that time. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to work through this. I want my daughter to have her father in her life. I'm going to work through this. I went through a lot of traumatic stress with just, wasn't physical per se, but it was very mental. The conversation was very abusive. Communication, talked down to me, told me I wasn't anything. Nobody wants to be with you. It was just so bad. So a few years after I had my daughter, you know, we were just I was trying to work it out. And still like going to church, trying to pray to God about this. And then I just realized, you know, as she was getting older, I was getting more distant from him. We were more like roommates than marriage, you know, married people. It was times where he was going to work, you know, when he was coming back, you know, no conversation here and there and the other. And so it was at one point, I think it was almost probably about the 7th or 8th year end, I started realizing that, you know, we were definitely not where we used to be. We had kind of separated a lot. And I just realized there were some things that were going on his end. Probably about like the 9th year, and you guys, granted, I was married for 12 years. So think about that, 21, married for that long. But during that process, I started realizing that there was, you know, a lot of not communicating, but found out at one day at work that someone texted me while I was at work. I was working HR at the time, and I was busy that day, was incredibly busy. And then some lady texted me and told me that she was with my husband for 8 months. So found out that my husband was not being faithful to me while I was at work, and devastated because you give your all to the marriage. I was so dedicated to the marriage. I was, that's all I knew. And so working hard and then finding that information really hit hard for me. For 8 months, someone is unfaithful to you, and you just never know how you're going to react to a situation like that until you're in it. Because, you know, when you're outside looking in, you're like, oh, you leaving. Even I thought, you would ever do something like to me, I would lit him up. I would, you know, all these things we say. But when it happens, you're like, I was in shock. I was stunned. I didn't have any emotion for a while, which a lot of folks I think was really concerned. But so that kind of spiraled from there. You know, spiraled from there. I decided to go counseling. I did. I was trying to work it out. But I could never trust. It was super hard for me to trust him anymore, even through the counseling. And so with the counseling and trying to trust him, and it just, we kept getting back. I kept having arguments. I didn't know where he was at. I couldn't trust that he would come home on time. I was just frazzled.
Yeah.
And it just came to a point where I just knew we had to do our thing. So one day, I told him, I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. We're not working out. We need to find a way to, we need to separate. And he was hurt about it, but he knew that was probably the best thing to do. It was very hard for me because, I have a daughter. And that is the reason why I went counseling for a couple of years after I found about the infidelity. But I had a daughter, so I wanted to make sure that she was taken care of, and that she, once again, it's a hard decision because you have her father, she loves her father, and I just didn't want to sever that relationship. But I just knew I had to do what I needed to do for me because I was getting beat up, mentally stressed, and I needed help. So after that, we got divorced.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that the mental part of it, all of us feel, especially after having found out that you've been cheated on. Tell me how you felt after divorce. I know a lot of us experienced low self-esteem. I did, low confidence, or to no confidence. We put on weight, we kind of let ourselves go because we're sad. Tell us how you dealt with that and how did you begin to heal?
So you're spot on, April. For me, it was the same. I was devastated. I was really like in a dark cloud. I was very depressed. I went through a depression mode. I remember going to see a counselor, and I tell people to do that. A lot of times for African American women, I'll just speak for African American women. There's this stigma of going to counseling and getting psychology and getting psychological help. I did, and when I went, the lady said, you're in deep depression, lady. I had suicidal thoughts. Even with a daughter, I had suicidal thoughts. I was eating a lot. I had lost a lot of weight because he had put me down for so long. So I started losing the weight. And then after that, I realized it wasn't about the weight. It was him, right? Who had the issue. So I did start eating. I would cry. It was a lot of dark. I was actually having issues working at work. There were some days while I was going to work and I would just start crying in the meeting. I would have to excuse myself and go in the car and, try to recoup myself and get back into it because life doesn't stop after divorce. People think that they know, but they don't know. It's like a death. It's like a death. I was grieving what I knew as my norm. I was grieving that the person that I've loved for 12 years is no longer. So, it was emotional strain for me. Absolutely.
Yeah. Being a PK, how did you deal with that spiritually?
That is such a great question. I knew that God would not want to see me stressed. He wouldn't want to see me abused. And also, of course, in the word, there are reasons to divorce. They do give that for, infidelity is definitely one. So that helped me spiritually to say, I didn't cheat on anybody. He cheated on me. He was unfaithful with me. So yes, I have an excuse. But spiritually, I had to know that God loved me and that he was still going to love me even after I divorced. Even though I was single, he still cared about me and that he was still going to provide for me. I wasn't going to be left in the dark. I wasn't going to be on the streets with my daughter and I. And I really started, really digging into the word at that time. I really had to because I told you I was suicidal at one point, trying to go to church services, trying to hear the word. I did have, of course, my mother there to support me. My father was there to support. But that's what helped me spiritually to move forward is knowing that I know God loved me regardless of what the
Yeah.
situation was. He knew my heart. He knew that I really wanted to be married, and I
Mm-hmm.
just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. So you mentioned therapy, which I'm so glad you did, um, because I just did a podcast where we kind of focused on the depression part of it.
Mhm.
And for me, it went even as far as having to take medication for a
Mhm.
short amount of time under, of course, my doctor and my therapist supervision.
Right.
But because, being in that place, and learning that it was a chemical imbalance and, just the sadness and all the things that go along with it, I think that is so important to have a support system.
Yes.
And my coach and my therapist and some other close people became my support system. Did you have a support system, and how did you go about seeking that?
I did. I absolutely did. I mean, during the divorce process, which I don't even want to talk about that. The
Yeah,
divorce
yeah,
process is lengthy,
yeah,
draining. It took me almost a year to get
yeah,
divorced. I mean, especially when you've been married with somebody, you have assets together, you have homes together, you have cars, you have a kid together. So you have
yeah,
to work, with the joint,
yeah.
joint, what do they call it? Joint
Custody. Mm-hmm.
custody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did have a support system. My mother she came down from Atlanta. She
Yeah.
stayed with me for as long as I needed her to be there.
Mm-hmm.
She was there. My father, he would talk to me every day, counseling, but I would also go to counseling as well.
Yeah.
Um, I think the other piece of it too, April, and I didn't say this before,
Mm-hmm.
but the question always kept saying, why me?
Yeah.
Why me? And why her? What
Yeah.
was wrong with me that
Yes.
you couldn't be with me? You couldn't be honest with me. And that, I think it was the resounding, like, glaring thing that kept ringing in my head was, why
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Why her? Out of
Right.
all people, why her?
Yeah.
And why didn't you tell me this was your issue or whatever? So I needed to get out of that. I needed to have that help to talk through it, to have
Mm-hmm.
the psychiatrist to talk through it, to
Mm-hmm.
help me understand that it wasn't about me. It
Yeah.
wasn't about, it's all about them and their selfishness and the
Yes.
choices that they made.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's helpful that I had that support from my mom and my dad,
Yeah.
my grandparents, and everybody was very supportive.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
and
that
let me say this,
Mhm.
even his mother was
Wow.
very supportive. His
Yeah.
mother and I have actually gotten closer since after the divorce.
Yeah. That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
Because it was
That's pretty.
rough. It was rough getting
Yes. Yes. And that's so hard to navigate, after divorce, family,
Yeah,
friends, because for a long time, you've all been one family. You all
that's right.
have, merged friends. And, the family thing, for me, I kind of, in a selfish way, I kind of like, this is your family. This is my family. So it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of easy to do, even though I kind of communicate with a few of them every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
The friends part was a little bit harder
Mm.
for me, but that's so hard to navigate. You don't think about those things all
Right.
the time. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so you don't want your friends to choose sides, but at the same time, it's got to kind of be a little awkward for them too. Like, what do we do?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
what do you think about that? Did you have
It's
that?
funny. No. And the reason why is probably because I am very introverted and I don't have a lot of friends anyway.
Yeah, okay.
And
Okay.
I think also too is that he was very much my life, right?
Mhm.
He was
Mhm.
the sole focus of my life.
Yeah.
Everything that I did, I didn't really have that many friends to go out and hang out with. It was, well, let me get back to my husband.
Right.
Let me get to my husband this, my husband that.
Right.
Well, I gotta clean the house, or I gotta, make the food for dinner.
Mhm. Mhm.
He was the focal point of my life. So I
Yeah.
didn't have that many friends that
Yeah.
were his and my friend. They were
Right.
usually my friend
Right.
or his friend, so it wasn't that difficult for me.
Mhm.
Thankfully, it wasn't that
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I want to talk about, because, with the fitness, with the health, with our health is such a huge thing. And I want you to kind of speak to the point where you thought, okay, I need to turn this around. Or was your physical health always something that was, at the top of your list? Speak to us a kind of around that time where in that area of your life, you decided to make a change, because you're phenomenal now. So,
Oh, thank
so tell
you.
us about that part.
For me, I kind of mentioned or hinted at is I had some difficulties after the pregnancy of my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I was always kind of a little fluffy, but like really fluffy.
Yeah.
I was just,
I like
I just
fluffy.
had a
I like
little bit of
fluffy.
a little fluffiness around
Yeah.
here, but I wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And after my daughter, the pregnancy of my daughter, I had gained almost 75 pounds with the
Oh,
tally.
yeah.
And afterwards found out that I had hypothyroidism, which is metabolism breakdown. My metabolism doesn't break down like break down food and stuff. It doesn't actually regulate like normal people. And
Right.
so I had problems losing weight, hair was falling, nails
Yeah.
was brittle.
Yeah.
It was just horrible. And so I'm thinking I'm going to bounce right back to, a solid 135, because I was 135-ish, when I got married. And
Mm-hmm.
I had ballooned up to almost 215 pounds. Like, I mean, it was
Wow.
more than 75. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And so I knew I had to do something. Of course, he was pressuring me like, look, you don't look the same way, you gained so much weight. And that's when, he kept pressuring me, but it was to the point, I think the breaking point, because I say this for all of our clients, you have to get to rock bottom. And it's until you hit rock bottom, that's when you decide, I need to do something.
Yeah.
Unless you haven't hit rock bottom, you're not going to go through it. You're just going to talk all you want. You're going to say, this is what you're going to do. I'm going to get on it. And you're not. So I hit the rock bottom for me was when I was getting my daughter up the stairs. I was about to pass out going up the stairs.
Wow.
I felt like I was going to pass out. I was breathing. I was like, I could uncontrollable breathing. I said, this is ridiculous. I am 27 years old, and my body feels like a 70-year-old. Why am I breathing this hard? Why am I doing this? So that's when it was the turning point. I didn't want my daughter to see me stressed and like that. I didn't want her to see me overweight. I wanted her to see a healthy example. And that's when I decided, okay, let me start working on it. So during the marriage, I started working on it. And so then after the marriage, I started eating a little bit more, but I knew I had to get back to it, because my why, like I always tell most of our clients, is you got to find a why. My why was my daughter. My daughter has always been my why. So that's really what propelled me to move forward with my eating habits and to working out and to losing weight.
Gotcha. Do you feel stronger now after your divorce?
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
1000%. Now, right afterwards, I didn't.
Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of women. Like, I'm blessed to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing. They're like, I can't see my life after divorce. And there were a lot of crying. There's a lot of dark days. It just doesn't happen automatically.
Right.
It doesn't.
Right.
It takes time. So I definitely tell women and encourage them to take the time that you need to take. No one puts a time limit on when you heal.
Absolutely.
And I hated that when people would be like, well, you should be over it. How are you going to tell me how long it takes me to get over it? It takes time, and it's different for everyone. Yeah. But now it's been 2 years after the divorce, but I've been separated for 4 years. So we were separated for 4 years, and it's 2 years. So now I feel like I'm on top of the world. I can't. Yeah. I really do. I am totally thankful that I went through what I did, because I'm stronger now. Like you said, you feel stronger? I absolutely feel stronger now, more empowered. Yeah. And I have a voice. I didn't have a voice before. I was in the shadow of my husband. So now I have a voice. And I'm happy about that.
Yes, I love that you said, I feel like I'm on top of the world, because you're right. After the divorce, it's so many different things. And it's been, oh man, it's been about 6 years for me as
Mm.
well. This year I think it'd be 6 years, something like
Oh,
that. But,
wow. Okay.
I still have some of the residue,
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
So it does take time. It's not something you can just, I'm going to be done, because it is a death. It really
That's right.
is. It really is a death. So I'm
Yes.
glad that you said that. I feel like I'm on top of the world, because that's what I want other women to see, examples of, from there to here. There is life after. And so we're going to begin to kind of wind down, but I
Okay.
want to know, what lessons did your divorce teach you?
That's very good. Very good question. It really taught me how to not lose myself in a marriage, um, because I had to find myself afterwards. So the lesson that I learned was to always, like, eventually down the road, if I do ever decide to get remarried again,
Mhm.
but to always make sure that there's a balance there, and that
Mhm.
I will forever have me as a person and have my own voice,
Yeah.
and have that balance. Never lose me in
Yes.
trying to gain someone else.
Yes.
I have to be my own person. And that
Mhm.
doesn't mean you don't be submissive. And that doesn't mean you guys don't work through things together. But at the end of
Mhm.
the day, I'm going to forever be Coach Lita Gray. So whoever else
Yes.
understands, whoever else gets with me, they're going to know
Mhm.
that's my passion. That's what I want to do. So that was definitely one of the greatest things that I've learned from
Yeah.
divorce.
Yeah.
Also, to prepare for a rainy day. I
Yeah.
would talk about the financial piece of it, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of reasons why people don't leave, is because of the financial piece of it. But when I start seeing the handwriting on the wall, I was
Yes.
preparing,
Yeah.
just in
Yeah.
case,
Yes.
just in
Yes.
case. So I
Yes.
was putting monies aside,
Yeah.
because me and my girl and I, we're gonna survive. We're gonna make it.
Yeah.
So I was preparing, putting money aside and saving, so that when I did, if I had to, I would
Yeah.
have something there, a cushion there to live and survive off of. So those are a couple of things that I've learned from the divorce.
Yeah. One thing we know how to do is survive, right?
Oh yes, ma'am. Oh yes, ma'am.
So I want you, and this is kind of how I'll close the show. I want you to look into the camera, and if there was someone on the other side of this camera and they were just signed the papers, just got here, and they are all emotioned up, they are uncertain, they have no clue what their next step is or what they're going to do, what would you tell them? What advice or encouragement would you tell them about life after divorce?
Well, I will tell you, lady, you are going to get through this. Believe it or not, this is not the end. This is only the beginning. I will share that Phoenix Fitness International was birthed after the divorce. Because of the divorce, I was able to birth something into existence.
Yeah.
The phoenix, which is the phoenix is a bird that was in the ashes, burned. And then out of that, they rose and they rise up and out of the ashes, and they're phenomenal, beautiful, lovely, strong birds.
Yes.
And because of that divorce, that's where I was able to birth that. So you may be thinking that this is the end. You're not going to be able to make it. You're not going to survive, but you are going to survive.
Yeah.
There is life after divorce. There is so much more that God has for you. Please believe you're going to be shining bright like a diamond, and you will feel top of the world. You're going to get through this, girl. You're going to get through this, lady. I promise you. We're going to do it together.
Yes. I feel encouraged.
Yes,
I mean, I wasn't sure if it was all for me, but I feel encouraged. That was phenomenal. Thank you so
Thank
much. Again,
you.
I want you to tell everyone how they can get in contact with you, social media handles, websites. How can they be a part of the PFI tribe?
Okay, well, thanks again for having me, Coach April. And you
Yes.
guys can find me on Facebook. is Shelita.Gray on Facebook. You can also go to Phoenix Fitness International on Facebook. We also have, I have Instagram at Coach Fits Lita Instagram. And then also we have our own website, which is www.phoenixfitnessintl.com. So there are so many ways that you can be a part of our tribe. Would love for you to be a part. Love it. Absolutely.
Yes, you will not be sorry. I promise. They have delicious food. Delicious.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you all for joining us. I hope that you have been inspired and encouraged. Please share, tag, subscribe, tell everyone you know about this web show. And you can find me on all platforms at Coach April Elle, ELLE, or www.aprilelle.com. And until the next episode, we will see you soon. Everybody take care.
Bye.